Hey, Ted. Hey. Hey, good. How are you doing? Hey, Mark.
We're just waiting till 7:30 so that we can be on TV. So. Everybody ready? I'd like to call the November 4th, 2019 City of Oakwood Council meeting to order. Would you all please rise and join me with a pledge to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
can I have the roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Byington,
Here.
Mr. Epley,
Here.
And I'd like to make a motion to excuse our absent members, Mayor Duncan and Councilperson Hilton. Mayor Duncan is at a conference in Austin currently, and Mrs. Hilton is recovering from a car accident this weekend. So do I have a motion to accept their
Second.
absences? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We also have one other council member who is on his way currently and should be here shortly. We don't need him until the legislation portion, but he is on his way. The next item of business is the minutes of the October 7th regular session. Mr. Epley, do I have a report on those meeting minutes?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I've reviewed the minutes of the October 7th regular session, work session, and executive session, and October 28th executive session, and find them to be complete and accurate, and ask that they be adopted as written.
What do we do? All, okay, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is easy, isn't it? Let's see. That brings us to status reports, and we have a lieutenant promotion today. I'm excited to do, and I guess we'll go out front. Let's see. Chief Hill and Damian Baggett, if you'll join me up here. Get your family.
Yeah. Rachel, Samuel, Caleb, Paige.
Oops, grabbed the wrong sheet. Okay. If I could have you raise your hands and repeat the oath of office. You can do it too. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and that I will, in all respects,
and that I will, in all respects,
uphold and enforce the provisions of the Charter
uphold and enforce the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of this city,
and the ordinances of this city,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of Public Safety Lieutenant
the duties of Public Safety Lieutenant
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. We'll introduce your family here. Rachel, and then the kids. Let's see if I can figure out who's who. Caleb, Samuel, Levi, Paige, and Isaac. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we have your parents here as well, Rosemary and Neil.
Yep.
Stand up. Yeah, there you go. And then Grandma Gloria here also as well.
Gloria. She's 93 years young.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us, Chief Hill.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. You can see by the turnout here that it's a great showing. This is a great day for Damien and his family, long overdue and well-deserved promotion. But I think before we talk about his promotion, it obviously was created by an opening. Lieutenant Yount, who's standing back there, is going to be leaving us here in the next couple of months. You know, he just hit his 30 years of service with the city of Oakwood, and on our side of the building, the safety department side of the building, that's a big number for us. So we wish him well as he embarks on the next chapter in his career here in a couple of months. So, you know, Jeff, we wish you well. bear with me a little bit because as I started to think about what I was going to say about Damien, I just started typing, and the next thing I know, I had about 6 pages worth of stuff. And that's how easy it is to talk about Damien. Lieutenant Baggett moved to Oakwood in the late 1980s when he was 8 years old. Damien attended Smith Elementary before moving on to the junior high and senior high building. Damien is a 1997 graduate of Oakwood High School. Like many kids who were raised in Oakwood, when Damien was 16, he got a job at Dorothy Lane Market. For the next 6 years, Damien worked at Dorothy Lane, 2 of which he made killer brownies, before leaving Dorothy Lane in 2001 to start his career in public safety with the Dayton Fire Department. While employed at Dayton Fire, Damien obtained his fire certification, his paramedic certification, along with his fire inspector, fire instructor, and paramedic instructor certification. Damien spent 10 years working at Dayton Firehouse 13. I know many of his contemporaries there are in the back. Appreciate you being here. Dayton Firehouse 13 is located at Edwin C. Moses and West 3rd Street in the city of Dayton. And in 2008, Damien was selected by his peers and presented with the Distinguished Service Award. In 2010, Damien made a very difficult decision to leave Dayton Fire and returned home, joining the Oakwood Public Safety Department. Since the date of his hire with Oakwood, Damien has been a model employee. Damien is one of the most dedicated, hardest working individuals I've been around. Whether it's 9 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, everybody knows they can count on Damien regardless of the task to be complete. Damien's knowledge of the police service has grown over the last 9 years, and Damien has added certifications such as evidence technician and bike patrol officer along the way. During his time at Oakwood, Damien has been recognized on numerous occasions for his job performance, whether that's for playing with the students at Harmon Elementary while at recess, to changing a flat tire on the side of a roadway, to helping an elderly resident who fell victim to an email scam, to being recognized for teaching a community CPR class, or while on a weekend family trip, while on a weekend camping trip with his family, Damien saving a life of somebody he stumbled upon in a community restroom that was suffering from a drug overdose. To all of us that know Damien, none of this is surprising, because this is exactly who Damien is, an incredible person who truly has a passion for helping others. Outside of work, Damien is a devoted husband to his wife, Rachel, and a father to their 5 children, Caleb, Samuel, Levi, Paige, and Isaac. Lieutenant Baggett has a strong record of performance and will make an excellent addition to the Safety Department leadership team. Lieutenant Baggett's promotion today embodies the hard work, commitment, and dedication he has demonstrated throughout his career. Please join me in congratulating Lieutenant Baggett on his promotion to the rank of lieutenant.
And thank you to all the guests. There's quite a few people out there that we didn't mention. Chief Payne, I guess, is out there as well from the City of Dayton Fire Department. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming, sir. Okay, next we have the visitors portion of the program. And I think the first thing we have on the list is the Scarecrow Road Contest winners. Carol, you can help me out with this? Oh, okay.
Yep. This is the third place.
Gotcha. The third place award is presented to the Neumeister family for Slip and Died. You can see a picture of it there, the Neumeisters here. Then we will make sure to get that award to them. Second place winners, which one? This one, okay. Is presented to the Oakwood Sister Cities for Sinister City Face Off. And who is here for that group? Nobody from the sister cities? Okay, well, oh, sorry. Come on up. And the first place winner goes to the Beck family for the Blue Screen of Death. I think we've all had that experience before. Beck family? And then the last award goes, and this is the Mayor's Award, and this goes to the Oakwood Beautification Committee for Erie Express. Great. Okay, and then what else is on our agenda here? Next, we have the Beautification Awards, and okay. And are these the ones? Okay, I have to admit that this is one of my favorite programs of the entire year. In Oakwood, we're extremely blessed to have all kinds of fantastic things that draw people to our community, whether it's the people, the schools, public services, all the different things that make Oakwood special. But as an architect, when I was first moving to this area, one of the things that drew me to Oakwood was just the incredible diversity and character of the housing stock that we have here, and to see the care that these folks have put into their homes to upkeep them and to keep them as idyllic as possible is fantastic to me. So I think at this point we're just going to announce the various different folks, and if you would come up, I would like to give you this proclamation here. Larry and June Crawford, 20 Patterson Road. Come on up.
Hold to the end.
Let's see. Laura Ensbrenner and Bob Ealing. And that's 69 East Dixon Avenue.
Hubby's back there nursing.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Nancy Nichols and Darcy Gerber. We'll make sure that they get this. Okay. Paul and Lauren Goodling, 200 Peach Orchard.
Congratulations. Beautiful.
Dwayne and Sarah Harrison, 336 Ridgewood Avenue.
Congratulations.
Stephanie and Kurt Hudeshell, 300 Oakwood Avenue.
Congratulations.
Mark and Betty Hughes, 106 Oak Knoll Drive.
And Mark, congratulations.
Kevin Jones, 215 Point Oakwood Way. Tina, Luce Nola, did not get that right. 20 East Dixon Avenue. well, fortunately, she's not here to hear me butcher her name. Jennifer and Federico Medrano, 219 4 Boulevard. Okay, make sure they get that. Dean Parmalee, 40 Schenck Avenue. Congratulations, sir. Beautiful job. Tom and Judy Thompson, 239 4. Marcia Toll, 244 Harmon Boulevard. Good job. That's it? Okay, did we get everybody who is in attendance here? Okay, well, thanks again for everybody who participated. Like I said, this is a program that we're very proud of. It's almost one of those things where you go around the community and virtually every house could probably get a beautification award. So we really enjoy highlighting the best of the best. Okay, and we are still in the visitors portion of the program, so if we have any visitors who would like to address council, I encourage you to step forward to the podium, state your name and address, and we'd be glad to welcome you.
Hello, my name is Sam Dorff. I live at 101 Oak Knoll, and I'm here just with a number of friends. I don't know if a group of people here who live in Oakwood, maybe if they're here to talk about the report that was made by Dr. Martha Hurley and Able Law. If you're interested, if you came here to talk about the report, if you don't mind just showing your hand so that the council can see how many members are interested in having further discussion about this document. So this is more of just a question for you, and to see, now that you've had 30 days at least to look over the document, I'd like to know what the council feels about the document and steps to move forward with the document.
Okay, well, I think that at our last meeting, we said that we would take the time to review it. We would have meetings with the organization that put together the report, as well as to discuss it amongst ourselves. We've since had 2 meetings with that group. We are in the process of reviewing some information and possibly having a second meeting or a third meeting on that. And we are planning on presenting our findings at our December 9th meeting, which was what we said after 60 days. So all I can tell you at this point is we're reviewing the information. We've had discussions. I think that they've been very positive discussions from what I've heard from Chief Hill and our legal counsel. And I think that we'll have a finalized decision or report for you at our December 9th meeting. So is there anyone else that would like to speak on that specifically? We'd be more than happy to hear whatever comments you might have. It is still under, I mean, it's something it's not something that you can just, have 1 or 2 meetings and everything get resolved. So it's something that we're spending the time to do our due diligence on.
I don't know if that's another, I'm going to take one more.
Sure.
So I'll also say that at the last meeting, one of the things I brought up is that it's not just the report itself, but I think a lot of my peers feel the same way, that it's a certain culture that seems to feel that this is not a number one priority, and addressing the culture and the perception of the city. And those are things that I hope, while not specifically related to the report, but really taking a look at why certain people do not feel that this is a place for them, that they are welcome to raise their family, that they are welcome to bring their kids to the park, to have their kids in the school. So I really hope that this starts other conversations about our ability to be as inclusive as we really can be. So that's my last thought.
Yep. I will just... I will say I agree with what you say. I will also say that this isn't something that is just a conversation and something that we're looking at just because of this particular event. This is something that we look at all year long. So it is something that is not necessarily foreign in terms of the perception that Oakwood has received in the press. And it's something that we're continually looking for. How do we become more inclusive and make sure that everybody feels welcome? I think that we do a fairly good job of that throughout the year, but we can always do better. So we will take that under advisement, and we will report back at the December 9th meeting. Any other visitor comments? Please step forward, state your name and your address.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Myrna Gabby. I live at 345 Peach Orchard Avenue. I'm just wondering, I know that the report is in progress and you're having meetings, but I'd like to know, is there any discussion on diversifying the force? Diversifying the police force. Yeah.
I don't think that at this point that's something that we're specifically talking about. It's we have the best possible police force right now. I'm not exactly sure what you're. Are you saying that we?
I'm wondering. Well, my question. Maybe I should have asked first of all. What is the What's the representation on the police force of people of color, women? And is there any interest? Because my understanding is, my perception is, that there isn't much diversity on the force, and that this is something that we can all benefit from, diversity, since we are a diverse community in a wide-ranging ways. And if this isn't something that was considered as part of reflection on the report.
I don't want to speak for Chief Hill, but the policy of Oakwood is always to hire the absolute best possible officers that we can. I don't think that we look at race, creed, color, any of those things in determining who we hire to our police force. As you heard by today's promotion of Lieutenant Baggett, all of our officers are the absolute highest caliber. So that's not something that Oakwood City Council necessarily chooses the officers, but I have absolute confidence in Chief Hill's decision-making process, and I believe we've had the best officers out there. Any other comments? Any other comments?
Roger Crum, 159 Aberdeen. I think Myrna Gabby's question really goes not to just the generic and itself laudable goal of hiring the most qualified officers, but I think it's a question that speaks to, is there a goal of the police force and the city council to do whatever it can in terms of advertisement, recruiting, interviewing, and seeking out candidates from diverse groups who might form part of that excellent core of safety officers. That's how I understood the question, and I'm sure you understood that question too, and perhaps you could speak to that larger goal of seeking diversity as itself a goal on the police force, in addition to quality of officers. Thank you.
I will say that, and it might be the wrong answer, but Oakwood City Council does not set the policies for specifically who is hired and who is not hired. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but basically we have a set of standards that are in place. We have a set of, when an officer or a position becomes available, we have a set of groups that various different applications are sent out or announcements are sent out, and we receive numerous applications from all different areas, and we review those based on their qualifications, and we select the highest caliber that are available to us, and that is something that the city of Oakwood has always done. I'm not sure that we're in a position to put one goal higher than the other in terms of our hiring practices. I think we're always shooting to have the absolute best possible people. So,
If I may, I think that what
could you please come back up to the?
Sorry.
I want to make sure everybody can hear.
If I could underscore, I very much hear what you're saying. What I'm not hearing is that the city has an intentional goal and a strategic initiative to do what it can to diversify the force. And I think that in recent years, indeed in recent decades, in all nature of organizations in our society, we've seen very intentional, well-meaning, and as a result, productive initiatives on the part of organizations ranging from police forces to corporate environments to educational environments to really go the extra mile to work very hard at diversifying the population that works for any given entity and ultimately represents that entity. And I think the larger result of this might be an amelioration both of perception of Oakwood and action within Oakwood. Because I think as a community, we need to work both on the perception of our community and the actions of our community. And I think the question of diversity is at the core of that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Hi, I'm Leslie Peak. I live at 317 Delwood Avenue. I just want to reiterate what Roger Crum said and also underscore what CM Dwarf said earlier about the police report being sort of scratching up the surface of broader issues of perception, at least, among many individuals in the Dayton area and beyond, that Oakwood is a chilly climate, to some extent racist community for folks of color. And that's a perception that harms all of us in terms of especially looking at changing demographics of the U.S. So I would really certainly urge the council to look at this in terms of the broader sense, and ideally recognizing that there's many of us that are here that are passionate, interested in this topic, willing to engage in this, and so seeing this as potential as a win-win situation as opposed to seeing this as adversarial. So I'm certainly hopeful that we can have future conversations related to this. Thank you.
I think you will find that Oakwood City Council, as well as all of Oakwood City staff, are more than happy to listen to any comments that are brought forth. I mean, I think these venues are great for these type of conversations, but I also think that we are a small community. We are a community where you can walk in that door and you can talk to the city manager, you can call any of the members of council and discuss any of these things. Our numbers are listed on the website. We're here to serve our community, and if you have specific ideas on how we can do our job better and represent you better, I mean, realize that all of us are residents as well, and all the things that perceptionally affect Oakwood affect us as well. So these are not conversations that we take lightly. They're things that we take very seriously, and we want to make sure that those conversations take place in the right venues and that they actually produce results. So I thank you for your comments, and I encourage you to do more of that, to reach out, to offer up your thoughts and opinions as much as you possibly can. Okay, any other visitor comments? Yes.
My name is Rachel Colopy, 305 Orchard Drive. I'm a longtime resident of Oakwood, so I've seen these issues come up before, and questions about bias and discrimination in Oakwood come up before. And we know that issues of bias and discrimination and racism can happen both through formal structures, formal policies and practices, as well as informal ones. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, one of our safety officers told me that there was a quota, an unspoken quota of a number of tickets he needed to write. And that if I repeated that he would deny it, that this is an informal understanding among our public safety force. So here's my question for you. Are you committed as a council? And I worry about that because I've heard our mayor say that this was taken care of before, that there was training before, they dealt with it. I'm wondering if you as a council representing us as the citizens of Oakwood are committed to real and substantial change this time. That you don't see this as another time that you're going to listen and look at a report and then things will go on as they did before. But are you willing to work with the citizens who are here and others who are really very concerned about this issue and the reputation that our little city has, and commit to making real and substantial change, both among the formal and the informal policies that we have?
All I can tell you is basically what I said before, is that we are part of the community. We all live in the same community. We care about it just as much as anybody in this room does. And when things are brought up that don't put Oakwood in the best light, we take them very, very seriously. I mean, this is not something that we're doing because we're going to become governor, or we're going to become president, whatever the case might be. We do this because we absolutely love the communities that we live in. And so we will take this very seriously, as we do with any issue, whether it's somebody who comes up and says, you know, my curb is crumbling. We take those things very seriously, and we don't just sit in a room and say, well, you know what, we'll just push this down the road. We don't. Now, I also say that there's not easy solutions to a lot of the things that we're talking about here. So if your expectation is that we're going to, like, at this December 9th meeting, have some sort of giant journal that lays out our entire course for the next 20 years, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But we will have some sort of actionable item that says this is what we see we're going to be doing on this particular issue. So that's all I can tell you at this point.
What I'm hoping for at the next meeting is that you have a plan and that there are checks in the future. Is the plan working? Just like we do with other kinds of plans. That we don't expect changing a few things is going to change everything, but what are we going to start with? When are we going to come back to it and measure if we've had some real impact, that we've had real and substantial change, and then what will the next steps be after that, depending on what we find. But what I'm hoping to hear from you is not that we will come back next time, say something that we're going to do, like we did sensitivity training in the past, and then say after that we're done. Because I agree with you, this is not going to be a quick fix. But so again, is the council committed to real and substantive change that may take a long time to accomplish?
I think we can say that we're always looking to make Oakwood the best possible community that we can. So if that is through change, if that's through refinement, whatever that might be, we will do what it is best for the city of Oakwood.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, with that, then we will close the visitors portion of this meeting and turn to the legislative portion. And the first item of business is an ordinance to amend 2019 appropriation to pay off the Ohio Police and Fire pension liability and purchase a vehicle for the Director of Engineering and Public Works. And that is my legislation to introduce. We'll let everybody disperse. Okay, this is an ordinance to amend Section 1, 2019 Original Appropriation Ordinance Number 4870, which is a supplemental appropriation ordinance number 4887, and supplemental appropriation ordinance 4891 to provide for the appropriation of, 1, an additional amount of $422,137 to be expended from the Police Pension Fund to pay off the Ohio Police and Fire pension liability. 2, an amount of $422,000 to be transferred from the general fund to the police pension fund. 3, an additional amount of $32,000 to be expended from the equipment replacement fund to purchase a vehicle for the Director of Engineering and Public Works. And 4, an amount of $32,000 to be transferred from the general fund to the equipment replacement fund. This is the second reading of a supplemental appropriation ordinance that will allow the city to make 2 expenditures not already included in 2019 budget. One is the early payoff of a liability owed to the state of Ohio, and the other is the purchase of a vehicle for the use of the Director of Engineering and Public Works. The Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund, or the OPFP, was created by the Ohio General Assembly in 1965 to replace hundreds of individual local police and fire pension plans. At the time, many cities, including Oakwood, had pension liabilities on paper exceeding the assets needed to pay future retiree benefits. In other words, once the state assumed control of local pension plans, many local governments owed money to the state. These liabilities were placed on a 65-year payments schedule, with payments beginning in 1970 and continuing through 2035. The current payoff figure for Oakwood's remaining liability is $422,137, which continues to incur interest at an average rate of 4.25%. Due to the difference between that interest rate and the amount generated by city investments, council has determined that it costs the city more to carry this debt, and paying off this liability early is the most prudent use of city resources. By paying off the liability now, the city will save approximately $175,000 in interest and in interest expenses that would otherwise accrue between now and 2035. It should be noted that 0.3 mils of the city's inside millage property tax revenues, which amount to approximately $96,000 annually, have been dedicated to servicing this liability. Once the liability is paid off, the Montgomery County Board Budget Commission has approved the reallocation of that money to the city's general fund going forward. The other expenditure is for a vehicle for the Director of Engineering and Public Works. The city has not employed a full-time director in that department since the previous director resigned in the fall of 2014. Those duties have been assumed by the city manager in the interim, but we will hire a full-time Director of Engineering and Public Works later this year. The city no longer has a vehicle available for use by that person in that position and needs to acquire one. In total, the supplemental appropriation will authorize the transfer of $454,000 from the city's general fund and $422,000 going to the public pension fund and $32,000 going to the equipment replacement fund in order to pay for those expenditures. And this is a second reading of this particular ordinance, and I would move that council adopt it this evening.
Second.
Vice
Lori?
Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
Okay, the next piece of legislation is ordinance to approve updates to the Traffic and General Offenses Code. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Byington. And I'd like to also apologize for my tardiness by a few minutes. I had a family commitment I had to attend to. I got here as quickly as I could. This is an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Oakwood Traffic and General Offenses Codes. Each year we pass an annual housekeeping ordinance to align our local traffic and criminal ordinances with changes that have been made at the state level. This ordinance will adopt our 2019 replacement pages for the Traffic Code and the General Offenses Code. Since this is the first reading, I make no motion at this time.
Okay. With that, our legislative portion is complete. Now we go on to staff reports, and I guess we have no staff report this evening?
We have none, Your Honor.
Okay. So we will go to the city manager's report, and I assume we have one.
I also have no report.
You have no report? Wow.
Tonight.
Okay. Well, then, we go on to council comments. Mr. Epley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no comments this evening.
Mr. Stevens.
Just a quick thank you to the Oakwood Public Safety Department for helping out this morning when the power was out at all the schools and, throughout the city. It wasn't a short period of time, but it also, fortunately, wasn't extremely long. But I got some calls, and I know some things on social media today about our police force and their great work to make sure that traffic flowing, if you've been around the schools in the morning, you know how troublesome it can be. So I just want to thank them publicly for their work this morning on quick notice.
Sure.
That's all I have.
Okay. My comments, I'd like to congratulate once again Lieutenant Daggett for his promotion. I think he's going to be a fantastic addition, as the chief mentioned, to the leadership group there. And then the last thing I have is tomorrow is Election Day. I encourage everybody to get out and vote. I think in Oakwood, all of the issues or all of the candidates are uncontested, but it's still part of your civic duty to get out there and vote, so I would encourage you to do so. And with that, our next regular session meeting is scheduled for December 9th, 2019. And with that, we are adjourned.